Hey everyone, it's Ashley and I'm back with a video. Today I'm going to show you how you can take a Dollar Tree table runner and turn it into something specialized and beautiful for the holidays. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future content. And I have a ton coming up for the holidays and beyond. You won't want to miss it. We have our materials here for the project. We're going to be using our Dollar Tree table runner. This is 100% polyester, which is why I'm trying this one out. We're using our standard grip mat and our Cricut machine. I'm also using the patterns in steel plate. I have a few other projects coming up where I'm going to use this, and I love this red in here. It looks really vibrant, so I thought that would be a fun one to use. We're also going to be using our mat, our Easy Press mat, and our Easy Press, as well as some butcher paper or cardstock with our project. Hey guys, so we're inside Design Space. I'm using the computer version of Design Space, and what I want to do is size my project to fit within this table runner that I'm using. And this is a Dollar Tree table runner. It is 12 by 72 inches, so we want to make sure that our project isn't larger than that. But looking at it, I really don't want this to get too large. I want this to look really nice without taking up the whole space of it. So we're going to go into Images. And I've already selected the word Mary because I'm looking for a very specific design that I thought was really neat. I like this one because it has kind of a classic look, that like vintage classic look. So I'm going to click Insert Images. And we'll drag this around our mat so we can take a look at it. Make sure that you keep this within the size that will look the best for your project. I don't want to make this too large because the max width on our project is 12 inches, but I really want some visual space in there. So I'm thinking something like probably 8 inches or so is going to look really nice, maybe even 9. I could probably go about 9 without it taking up too much visual space. So I think that looks really good. I'm going to have the project link to this in the description box as well, so that way you can go to the pre-sized project. I'm going to click on Make It. We're going to mirror this because we're using Infusible Ink. Whenever you're using Infusible Ink or iron-on, always make sure to select to mirror. Then we're going to click Continue. We're going to browse all materials, and we're going to select Infusible Ink. Make sure that we have the mirror on, which we do, and that the material is ink side up. We're going to also make sure we're using the fine point blade. Our first step is to take our sheet of Infusible Ink and we're going to adhere it to the mat. We're putting it pattern side up, so you can tell the difference pretty easily. There's the backing on this. This is a grid, so we put the grid down towards the mat and we put the ink side up. Make sure that your hands are clean and dry whenever you're working with Infusible Ink, because it can interfere with the result if you have oils or anything on your hands. Also, this is a great time if you do have a brayer tool to break out your brayer tool, and that way you're not touching your project. You can also put something between your hands and the project when you're working on it. Make sure you have the fine point blade. We'll load our project into the machine using the arrow button. And then press the Cricut symbol to start. Now let's remove it. We will, ooh, that looks super cool. I can see it already looking neat. We're going to remove this from our mat by just flipping this over and rolling the mat away. We can take our design and cut away the excess so that we can save it for another project. Now let's work on weeding the project. Whenever you're weeding Infusible Ink, the big thing to remember is that you can roll your project around a little bit. So don't touch on where your actual project is that will adhere. You can touch on the areas that you remove. So that's what I do, is I just keep my hands in the areas that I'm going to remove later, and I just kind of roll my project around, and it'll make it a lot easier to remove all the pieces. Okay, so let's roll this away from the corner. You'll notice there's a thick kind of paper layer and then an adhesive layer. So if you have any problems when you're working with this, just remember to roll it, to remove it a little bit from there, and you can always use your tool if you need to get underneath the project as well. When you start having a lot of the project pieces off, you can start cutting away the excess, so that way you don't have a ton hanging out that you have to deal with. So this is something that I do, is as I'm working, I'll just cut away the extra. It just makes it so much easier to keep working on it because I don't have to keep track of a lot of pieces. I have a lot on here. I'm going to start cutting away some of the pieces to make it a little easier on myself. And there's some little areas I'll have to go in and weed in between. You can always use your finger to kind of push up in the middle sections, so that way you don't have to touch the area itself. So what I'm going to do is just roll and push that up, and it should pop up a little bit easier. The tail on this was a little bit too thin, so I just cut that down just a little bit, and I really don't think that's going to make much of a difference. It looks still really awesome. I'm going to also weed this little section here. There's a tiny little section left. Okay, so that's ready to go. We're good. Now we can apply this with heat. Whenever you're working with iron-on or infusible ink, I always recommend using the Cricut heat guide. I'll have a link in the description box below so you can go straight to the heat guide. And what it does is it walks you through all the settings that you'll need for your project. So we're using the Cricut Easy Press 2. We'll select our heat transfer material as Infusible Ink transfer sheets, and then we're going to select our base material. So this automatically shows you all the blanks that Cricut carries. So we're looking for something that has kind of a similar style of fabric or thickness, and this one I would say is the closest, is probably something like the cosmetic bag. So we're going to choose the cosmetic bag, and then we're going to click apply. It tells us we're going to preheat our project for 15 seconds at 385 degrees, and then we're going to press it for 60 seconds with light pressure and a warm peel. It shows us how to stack everything, the supplies we need, how to prepare our project, how to apply it, and then the care. I'll walk you through so you can see this one in action, and let's go ahead and heat up our Easy Press. We have our project here with the mat. So the layers for this project go mat, either cardstock or 4 layers of butcher paper, your material that you're working on, your decal, which will go on the top here, and then also a layer of butcher paper, and then you'll use your heat press on it. So before we start with any of this, we have to make sure that our project is preheated and follow the temperature settings on this one. This is 100% polyester, so it's more likely to have issues. So honestly, I would probably do this one a little bit less time for preheating. I think I'm going to go with 10 seconds for preheating on this one, and then that way it's not burning this. So let's make sure our machine is set. So the temperature is on here, and I'm going to make sure it's adjusted. It's to 385, and I'm going to adjust it down to 10 seconds. Since this is such a high polyester count, I really don't want to burn this. And let's wait for our machine to heat up. I did 2 examples for this one. So this side is going to be a bright green. It looks blue, but it's a bright green with little variations in it. And the other side is the bright red. Make sure you have plenty of butcher paper underneath your project. We're going to take our butcher paper and turn it this way and preheat. Remember, this is very hot, so always be careful. We're not putting any pressure on this. We're keeping it very light pressure. We'll take our decal and apply our decal here. I am going to use my brayer. Just be careful because this is hot. We have our butcher paper, we have our press, butcher paper, project, decal, more butcher paper. I'm going to set the timer on this one. It's normally at the 60-second mark. So we'll put it to 60 seconds. And then we'll place this right on top. Start it. And we're going to use light pressure on this one. We don't want to overpressure this. We'll remove our butcher paper, turn off our machine if we're done using it, and we're going to let this sit. It needs to become a warm peel rather than a hot peel, and so this needs to cool down just a little bit. You can always check the temperature in a little while just by touching towards the outside. You don't want to get close to the decal because it's going to be pretty warm. So this is cooled down just enough that it's still warm, but not super blazing hot. So we'll just remove this. Look at how nice and bright that is. I love how that turned out. After working with Infusible ink on 100% polyester, especially because this one is thin, I would definitely recommend that you press the whole table runner at the same settings that you pressed for those specific sections, because what it does is it causes a little bit of shrinkage on the item. So if you go through and you press the whole table runner, it'll look consistent all the way through, and you should have no problems with having it look really beautiful once it's all completed. So what do you guys think of this? I think it's amazing that Dollar Tree has some great stuff that you can use with Infusible ink. So I'm definitely going to be doing more Infusible ink projects. If you'd like to see them, leave a comment below and let me know. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any content. Leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're having a wonderful day.